All right, everybody, and welcome back to the roundup. And I'm happy as always to be joined by my good friend, my good bald friend. We're the bald duo. It's nice. John, how you doing, mate?
Good, mate. Good. Going for the hat trick.
Aye.
So,
Oh yeah,
aye,
you'll get more than that this season. You'll be
aye,
a regular, a regular.
that's
You're already
fine.
every second week now.
That's fine. Aye, that's me three now. So does that mean I get to keep you if it's?
Aye, aye. You put me in the mantelpiece. Right, this week we have the Strathclyde Demolition quarter final. We've got the first round of the Junior Cup, the second round of the Junior Cup, and we have one league game in the Premier League. So we'll start with the Strathclyde Cup. BSC 0, Forth 7, Campbelltown 1, St Cadocs 4, Eglinton 2, St Peters 0, Port Glasgow 0, Maryhill 2. Fourth in BSC, a pretty much run of the mill result. Maybe a bit higher than I thought it might have been, but I expected a comfortable fourth victory. BSC, it looks like it's going to be a hellish year for them. They're just getting battered every other weekend. So that's pretty standard. For me, Eglinton touched on them the last few weeks where we said they weren't doing so great the last time you were on, Johnny. But last week they had a great win against Bonnet and 5-0. This week, a good win, 2-0 against St Peters, two clean sheets in a row. I wonder if they're maybe starting to turn a corner.
Aye, definitely. And I know we said what we said a couple of weeks ago, so it's good to see them improve. And I'll be honest with you, I've no real interest in that cup to be to be fair. I just think it's like, right, you don't want to be in a junior cup here. We'll make up a competition for you. But it is what it is. So these teams are in there and they're competing to try and win something. So fair play to them. Go for it.
I think the Strathclyde has a bit of a different edge to it though. It's these teams don't want to be in the Junior Cup, but they have a great chance of getting themselves a trophy and into the Senior Scottish. Where I mean, you look at the Drum, I've done it before. Renfrew fell at the last hurdle and stuff, but it's a very good opportunity. You look at St Cadocs.
Aye.
St Cadocs should be in this competition.
Mhm.
They should win this competition and give themselves a chance to progress into the Scottish Cup. Comfortable win for them yesterday, 4-1. Actually, I think that's it's not the worst result for Campbelltown. St Cadocs, three leagues above them, a far superior side. Campbelltown able to get a goal, keep it reasonably respectable. I think that's not the worst of results for Campbelltown yesterday.
Aye, it's just first you look at it both ways. Campbellton will be looking at that, thinking we just don't want to get a doing, basically, as you do when you're a bottom league club playing against a high flying Premier League club. And similarly, St Cadix will just be with that journey. You just want to get through. You just want to win the game. That was whenever you're thinking about going all that way. It's just about winning. It doesn't matter. It wouldn't have mattered whether it was 2-1 or 3-1 or 10-1. It's just about getting the result and then getting out of there as quickly as you can. To be
Aye.
honest.
The game that I wanted to go down and watch yesterday, two of my former teams, Port Glasgow and Maryhill. Maryhill 2-0 win. I'd have liked to have seen that one. I know that Mark will be really happy with the 2-0 win to get through to the semi-finals. Port, on the other hand, it's no the worst. Again, it's no the worst of results, even though they'd like to have won it. 2-0 against a team two leagues above you. Isn't a shame in any way. But the Porter, again, I think it looks like they're improving and it shows that the gulf between them and where they'd like to be might not be quite as big as it looked last season
Mhm.
when they had a really tough season in the third division.
hmm Aye, and obviously we don't know how Port Glasgow have approached that game because I think we've both said that their aims for this season is got to get promoted back up into the third division. So I don't know how they've approached the game, whether they look at it as a cup that they can win or they want to win, or whether it's just focusing on the league. So I don't know whether they gave opportunities to kind of maybe fringe players or younger players or whatever just to concentrate in the league. But it's still been competitive, and Maryhill are going well. But you've got to say it's got to be St Cadocs to lose as a cup in general. I think there would have to be a big shock somewhere down
Aye.
the line for St Cadocs not to win that cup.
I think you would expect if they could avoid each other, then you'd be looking at potentially those two in the final. And it's no disrespect to the other two, but you think if they could avoid each other in the semi-final draw, then that's who it'll be. Moving on to the Junior Cup. I'm not going to read through them because there's about 7,000 games yesterday and that. So we'll pick a few and go through them. One that caught my eye, which I think typifies how the season is looking for both teams, is Ashfield 2, the Thorn 5. Thorn, I've praised them a lot on here. I really like what they're doing. Um, to take 5 off a team 2 leagues above you is a great result. But on the flip side, Ashfield, I think they're in for a really hard season, and I don't think it's anything to do with the management or a poor running of the club. Obviously, with Mick leaving at the end of last season, the I think I mentioned it before. I think they only had 2 players when he's come in. So the fact he's been able to put a team on the park is something in itself. But I think that they're going to fall into the category where it could be a long, tough season for them.
Hmm. Aye, and it's two teams that have went through that change because Thornhill obviously went through the managerial change recently, but going by their results, they've no missed a beat in terms of what they're doing. But we spoke about you kind of expect that with the assistant stepping up to take the manager's job, and Ashfield are probably well, I would certainly say they overachieved last year. I think coming into that league, most people would have thought they'd be probably middle to bottom of that league last year, and they done really really well to get where they are, and they're probably just in a bit of a transition this year, losing the manager, players going and things like that. So I would say this year's probably a bit building, rebuilding, trying to stay up if they can, and then look at building into next year as well.
Aye. Another result, Drumchapel 3, Villa Clyde 1. I seen Hope had put on social media. I've not spoken to him since the game finished, but I seen he put on social media that first half was one of the best first halves I've had in his time, which in turn, as daft as it may sound, I think that's this result, if that's the case, shows that Villa Clyde are a decent side. Then if you're only losing 2 goals, they're losing by 2 goals to a drum team who are absolutely flying in the Premier League, who are a very good side, and their manager thinks that's one of the best halves they've had, and Villa Clyde kept it competitive. I think it's a good win for the drum, continues their great run of form, and Vela Clyde, again, I think that probably gives them a wee bit of confidence knowing that they've dropped quite a few points through draws and stuff in the league. But you'll probably be quite happy knowing going away at the drum, you've scored a goal, you've kept it competitive. So I'd imagine they'd be reasonably happy on that on the other side.
And we know Villa Clyde are a good side, and they're a side that's going to cause teams trouble. But on the flip side, we hope he's saying that you can sometimes play really, really well and just know get I'm not saying they didn't have any end product, but you would expect them playing a lower league team and playing as the best they've played this season, that they would maybe have won a wee bit more comfortably. But maybe they were comfortable and they just scored at the right times, and then it allowed them to keep the ball and make Villa Clyde move and play their brand of football. So it's another solid result. Everybody would have expected them to win, so it's a good solid result for them into the next round, and it's good to see them in the Junior Cup.
Aye. Eh, a big result for me, really unfortunate. The Rock drawing 0-0 with Trinent, who we were talking before we came on. It's a bit strange to see Trinent still in the Junior Cup, even though they're in the Lowland League. Losing 5-4 in penalties. I seen on social media that some people were saying the Rock were probably the better of the sides. That's a good reflection on the Rock then if they're causing a team like Trinent, because Trinent are a very good side, one of the better teams in the Lowland League, causing them a lot of issues, taking them to penalties. I think they could take a wee bit of comfort in the fact that they were able to push a good side so far.
Aye, I think as well. I've watched quite a few Lowland League games, and the games are a lot of them are on Astro. A lot of them are quite nice, good football played. No maybe as fiery or as leery as the West of Scotland leagues can be, but in saying that, if you were going to pick a team that could probably get in about it like that, would be Trinent. So I would have expected them to go down there and win fairly comfortably. So it's great that St Rochs have managed to hold them, but unfortunately the lottery of the penalty shootout has killed them in the end, and that can maybe come down to just that wee bit extra quality that Trinenta have got to make sure they win on penalties.
A result that I was a wee bit surprised to see. Know that I know a great deal about like the North and the East, but Ross Vale losing 6-1 at home. We've spoken about how good a side Josh has put together. No budget, good football inside. I was quite surprised to see them lose so heavily.
Mm-hmm. Aye, me too. It was one that certainly stuck out when I was looking through the results on Saturday night, and knowing I was coming to talk to you and tonight, was thinking, where can we talk? Because there wasn't really that many shocks around, and again, we don't even know if that is a shock. But I would say the manner of the defeat and the margin is probably more disappointing. But again, you don't know what is Josh's mentality about. They're not going to win the Junior Cup, but they really want to get promoted this year. So did he give opportunity to players that maybe are in about the first team or whatever? And the way he plays, which is great, if you're bringing in boys that aren't maybe playing, then that maybe leaves you so susceptible to maybe mistakes and things like that. But again, that's just hypotheticals. I don't know if that was the case, but I'm just trying to probably find reasons for such a defeat with that, or maybe Hull Russell are a right good side. Do you know what I
Aye,
mean?
very
You never
possibly.
know. Maybe they'll play Drumchapel or Troon in the next round and beat them 5-0. Who knows?
Talking about shocks, Friday night, I think will probably arguably the biggest shock for me in the tournament. Glasgow Uni 3, Rob Roy 2. I'm pretty surprised at that. Glasgow Uni have had a hard couple of years with relegations and stuff, and Rob Roy, I don't think they're having the season that Gibby would really like them to have. But with him being new and trying to put his ideas into place, it can take time. But that's a really impressive win for Glasgow Uni, and I think that should give them a bit of confidence, knowing that they've beaten a side 2 divisions above them, a good side as well, that they can actually start to maybe put themselves out there a wee bit more in the third division.
Aye, I think Glasgow Uni probably they're at the level probably now that
Mm.
where they would be, and that's a really good result. And I think they've been a bit inconsistent this year. I know we played them, and they gave us a bit of a going over, and they play good football, and they like to play it the right way and stuff like that. So, and they've got good group that are training regularly and things like that. So
Mhm.
sometimes that can just click, and when a higher league team comes, maybe they don't expect as much, don't know much of you, because with a university team, I would imagine that the pool of players will change all the time. So you can't really look at who's playing for them, what they're doing, who's their standouts, that kind of thing. So they're a bit of an unknown, and they're more than capable of picking up results.
Aye. Another tight game. I actually didn't think it was going to be so tight, so credit to them. But Larkhall 2, East Kilbride 2, 5-4 to Larkhall on penalties. And we've spoken as well. I think Larkhall are a really good side. East Kilbride coming off the back a comfortable loss last week, granted high league opposition as well. That can maybe give us a wee bit of confidence because that's a good result against a quite a tough physical side who are a good football side into that they've pushed them all the way to penalties.
Aye, definitely. It's a good result. They'll obviously be disappointed to not get through, but you can take heart for the result for going to a place like that, because it's not an easy place to go and play as well. You need a lot of confidence in your ability and your beliefs to go and play at a place like Larkhall. So, aye, fair play to them. And again, there'll be another one that'll be, hopefully Aaron can take that as a positive moving forward, and push up the table into the promotion spots in the fourth division.
A result that you brought to my attention I didn't actually look too much at was Helms 3, Cumnock 3, Helms winning in penalties. Really feeling it. It's another one where you don't know a great deal about these teams. But for me, Cumnock, a West Premier team, I really feel like that's games they should be going to win. I appreciate it's a bit of travel for them, going all the way up to Aberdeen, but I just don't think that's a great result. I don't think they're having a great season either, and the money that's getting thrown about at Cumnock is, if believed to be true, is absolutely insane, and I just don't think that it's, the results are anywhere near reflecting what is the club is providing the management team and the players in terms of resources.
Aye, I mean, I think I can think back a few years ago. I know Hermes were a good side. They were a strong side, but I don't know what they're like now. But you would still think that Cumnock should be doing
Mhm.
enough to win that game, definitely. And I would I would have expected Cumnock to be going into the later stages of this competition. Not
Yep.
going out early doors. I would have expected them to still be around quarterfinals, semi-finals, round about then. I would have said that would be the minimum expectation of them, with the squad that's been assembled there. So they'll be bitterly disappointed to go out at this stage, definitely.
Well, something I'll say is looking at the North Region Premier League right now, Hermes played 5-1-5, so
Mhm.
perfect start. But then I look at even though they've got games in hand, they're behind Ellen United, who lost to Glenafton
Glenafton.
4-1
Mhm.
yesterday. Paul Payton's first game in charge, I think. Well, I'm not 100% sure if he took the team yesterday, but who's the new manager there? I look at Isla Vale, who have won 3 out of their 4, who only beat the Ants 2-1, and it was a late, late goal. You've got, it's just not a great result for me.
No,
It's again, we don't know a great deal about the North Premier. We don't know what circumstances were. Maybe Cumnock don't want to go and win it. Maybe they want to focus in the league, but I think that would be daft if that was the case because
no.
they're not going to win the league. So this is a competition that they won recently and they would want to win again. I just
Mhm.
think it's a poor result.
Aye, I would be astonished if they were of that mindset that they were want to concentrate in the league. But like you said, it's a hell of a journey as well up there, which can take its toll, and before you know it, you can sometimes find yourself like a goal down or a couple of goals down, and try to get back into the game and scrambling by to get to penalties. But now, over on the whole, I would say it's a real disappointment for them. I
Aye,
would suggest.
aye, it's really it isn't great at all. Um, I think that'll be us
Can I
for
just mention our game? The
yeah,
So our
aye,
game, we beat playing Forest Thistle, and we were 7-0 up with 60 minutes to go, and unfortunately one of the Forest players got a really nasty ankle break. So he's had an operation, as far as I'm aware, today back up the road up in Forest. So he'll be on the road to recovery. So I just hope he's doing well. We've had a few nice messages about the care that we looked after. Just special mention to our physio, who's an ambulance technician, or was an ambulance technician, and see when you see these emergency responder guys' responses to these incidents where they know exactly what to do, and they're in control the whole time. It's unbelievable to watch,
aye,
and it puts you so much at ease because 99% of us would have just emptied our drawers at the sight of what happened because it was horrific. But Ian just knew exactly what to do, and it was unbelievable. So I hope the boys doing okay. For us, aren't they coming down to replay the game? So they've said that they're going to forfeit the game, and we'll go through to the next round. But I just hope the boys doing okay, and I
aye.
hope he's recovering all right and get back playing soon.
I echo that. Hopefully he's all right. It's no nice to see that at all. Actually, do you know, before we move on, there's one result and it doesn't even involve any of the West teams. I don't know if you've seen this. White Hills nil, Dundee North End 25. I had to go hunting on social media to see if this was actually a result and not a typo that was put onto the website. I don't think I've ever seen a result at this level. I've seen like 12s and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sorry, that's another
Troon
one.
scored 12.
Troon
Mm-hmm.
winning 12, but getting 12 yesterday. Nielsen scoring 9
Mm-hmm.
yesterday. I've never ever seen a 25.
No,
I don't know how you can. I honestly think I could walk down the street and just pick 11 guys who look semi-athletic and go and play Dundee North End and no lose by 25.
I know. It's a real sore one to think of. If you think as well, it's the time that it takes, like
Mhm.
to score
Aye.
25 goals, because then you've got celebrations or whatever, and restarts and substitutions and all that kind of stuff. So how often were they scoring? Do you know what I mean?
I'm, I'm going to
It's
actually check my calculator here, see if I can find the app, whatever it is.
but it's I feel for White Hills because that's you don't want to see teams taking doings like that because it's no good for a club. You're trying to maintain morale. I don't know where they are in the league or how they're doing, but it's it's a shame to see a team getting an absolute doing like that. Nobody wants to see that.
You are every 2.5 minutes, you're
Hmm.
basically losing a goal, and
That's
well,
hard to
every
that's
three and a
hard to
half
do.
minutes, it's or something like that. You're
That's
like,
hard to do, man.
I don't know how
You
that's
know.
possible. I mean, that's literally like just allowing people just to run, take centre, and run straight
Hmm.
past you.
Hmm.
That's it's strange,
There
but
must be a story there. There must be. I don't know if they've had short of numbers or they've had to draft in boys off the street or whatever. I don't know, but there must be a story there because, as you said, you can't imagine a team that's competing at this level conceding that and not that number of goals. There must be a story to it.
aye, it's insane. I don't ever see that again. Um, Moving on to our last fixture. I know I appreciate it's a shorter episode than normal, but there's not a huge amount of games for us to cover because the cups is what it is. But in the Premier League, a hugely impressive result for me. Largs 3, Talbot nil. Talbot, I don't really know what to make of them because they're obviously they are who they are, and everybody knows that they go and win games, and they're not the same team that have been about before. They're really not as strong as they were, but they're still a good side who
Mhm.
I genuinely thought that they would, and I'm not saying they won't be, because you know what they are like, they could come back and win 6 or 7 on a bounce. I thought they were going to be a team that were really going to be in the hunt to win the Premier League this season.
Mhm.
But on the flip side, we have sang the praises of Larg so much on this show for so long. I think that what Arnie's getting out of them is ridiculous. I mean, that's
Mhm.
not even just a close one, but it sounds like
Mhm.
that's a very convincing win. And that's a huge result for Largs, who are in
Mhm.
a position where I don't know when I keep saying I don't think Largs will win the league, and I still think that's the case. But I wonder when it becomes a case of, well, actually, Largs are in a position where who says they can't win the league because
Mhm.
they're really, really flying this season.
Mhm. Aye, and Arnie's done an incredible job just building slowly, just consistently. As I said before, he's made them into an established Premier League club that nobody ever is ever going to take lightly. Like you're going to be in for a test when you go to Lags. Now, I watched the highlights of this one earlier on, and the wind was absolutely chaotic. I don't know if you've seen it, but
No, I've
the
not
wind
seen
was
it.
coming right off the hills and blowing right down the part for the dressing room, right into the kind of the faraway goal. And it can be like that, lads. I remember at Troon, we actually had the game abandoned because the goalie took a bye kick and it went back where his head out for a
Mm.
corner, and the ref just said, "No, that'll do us." So, and by the way, it was a nice enough night. It wasn't even that bad an evening. I think there's just a vortex in that bit that the wind comes
Aye.
off the hills, but the wind was causing havoc. Lags were shooting with the wind in the first half. They scored a couple of goals, but the goals that they scored, it wasn't as if they were having shots that were wind assisted and things like that. It was goals that were probably preventable. But they took their chances. They could have been more up by half time, to be fair. They hit the bar as well, so they could have went in four up, to be fair. And then Auchinleck came out in the second half, probably expecting them to push on to try and get it back in the game, and then they go down to 10 men. Young lad, the lad Ross Smith gets sent off for two bookings. The second one, he gets booked, and then the goalie's trying to kick the ball out, and he tries to put his foot in the way of the ball, and he gets a second booking, and it's just like it's just daft. Do you know what I mean? It's just sheer stupidity for the boy, but I'm sure he'll learn from it. But you just can't do that kind of thing when you're trying to chase a game and get back into it. Um, and what I will say is, I saw Tucker's interview after the game. I don't know if you've seen it, but
No, I've not watched anything
see,
yesterday.
looking at him, and I've known Tucker. Not, I'm not friends with him, but I've known him to talk to and stuff like that. I would say, looking at him, he looked very, very angry,
Mm.
very angry. It's probably the angriest I've seen him when he's talking to camera. He's usually quite level. He was still level headed, but you could see he was fired up, you know.
Mhm.
And he said a couple of things in his interview that really kind of made my ears prick up. So he said that they looked soft, and he actually mentioned it twice in the
Mhm.
interview. Um, and he was also saying that they just didn't defend well and they were naive. I think naivety was a word they used as well. And over the years, the two things you would probably say about Auchinleck
Aye.
is they're no soft and they're definitely not naive
Aye.
when it comes to winning games and knowing how to go over the line. So he sounded a bit frustrated. He referenced that the young boys need to learn and things like that. So I think he's got this squad together, and I think he's got a lot of young lads in that dressing room, and I think he's just maybe getting a wee bit frustrated with them at times in terms of their defending, putting their bodies in the line, and then also knowing how to manage games. Because he was talking about them trying to play when they're kicking into the wind, and it's just that it's just no going well, and recognizing that and changing from what you're doing in order to play to the conditions because they were really bad. But
Mhm.
it was the most, like I said, it was a really honest interview. You should have a look at it. But it was interesting to listen to him talk because you can tell he's definitely not happy with what he's seeing on the park at the minute.
Aye. Well, it's quite interesting. I know from experience, and I know Tucker quite well, and I've spoken to him quite a lot over the years. He's had teams, and he is very, very much about. I think that he picks a lot of players based off their their mindset, their work rate, their desire. And I know he's quite a big one for I don't need to coach these players a lot because they're good players. I bring them in because they're good players, but they've got the right mindset. And I don't know if this is a generational thing because I am now past the generation of the players. And I know and played against and played with a lot of his successful players for 15 years ago, or whatever. They are a different breed, I think, in a
Hmm.
sense. And
Hmm.
excuse me, this is maybe something that was said the generation before our generation when we played, who they maybe say, oh, this generation are softer or whatever. It might be one of the ones. But I feel like you look at your Brian Slavens, Gav Collins, Whitey, Spenny, Latta, Butch. It's just
Arnie.
Arnie. You look at all that, and they were so tough and resilient, which I'm not saying these players aren't they, but they don't have the same level yet. But I'm looking at the league table, so that's the first result that the Talbot have lost this season, which in itself is decent going, but they've only won three out of 7 games. I think the big killer is they've only scored 9 goals in 7 games, conceded 6 in 7, and obviously 3 of them were yesterday. So defensively, they're pretty sound, barring yesterday, but results like that can happen. But Largs have played Drumchapel, and they're the only team to beat them. They've played the Borough, who are above them. They've drawn with them. They've played the Talbot. They've beaten them, the only team to beat them this season. They've not played Clydebank yet, I don't think. They've not played Clydebank yet.
No, I think they play Clydebank in a couple of weeks. I think 2 or 3 weeks. I think they play Clydebank. Do they not?
It is the 9th of November, actually. I think that's
Hmm.
one I might try and get myself to. And they're just there seems to be something about this team, and like you said, and I think it's important, they're adding small bits every year. And we spoke about this before with Clydebank as well. If you add in one or two every season and keep the majority of the ones you want to keep, in 4 or 5 years' time, you have a very strong squad of players who understand what the manager wants them to do. And
Hmm.
I get the impression that's the way it is with Largs. And you see Will Sewell went away to Steny and it never quite worked for him there. It goes back to Largs. See, when you've got somebody like him at the top of the park, you know you're in with a good shout of scoring goals. You've even got Arnie's boy, who is a good player himself, chipped in with a goal yesterday. I think they've got a very good core of players who have been there for quite some time. I think it does a great job to actually keep them all because you must have teams who come in for these boys and can offer them bigger money, which Largs might pay alrightish money, but they won't be paying big money. I think that's a credit to Arnie and the club, the fact that they're keeping this team together and they're being so competitive.
Aye, one thing that strikes me about Largs is they just appear very stable. You know, like
Mhm.
there never seems to be any issues behind the scenes, or the manager's been there for a while. They bring players in, they move players out. It doesn't seem to affect them that much. And they'll bring another couple in and stuff. They've got a decent catchment area up there with obviously with Greenock and upwards and
Mhm.
then down into kind of the valley and Ayrshire and stuff like that. So they've got a good wee catchment area that they can get boys free as well. So they just they just seem to do things the right way and they build their team the right way, recognising the fact that they probably can't go out and compete with the highest spenders in the division, but they can do all right. And it would be interesting to see where they would go if they added, like, see if they got a wee injection or whatever, and they added two or three real bits of quality. I think they would be in with a right chance, but maybe that'll happen, because that's them up to fourth now, in the league. So who knows where they could go? But I think you're right when you're saying about generational players. I'm probably going to sound like an old man like you as well, but I think it's probably, I think for us as coaches or managers or whatever, that's a challenge for us, is to how is recognising that the boys aren't they the same as they were when we
Mhm.
played. Do you know what I mean, in terms of the mentality and that kind of thing? So it's our job to try and get the best out of them in the best way that we can, um, rather than just expecting them to be what we want them to be. We have to then find out how to get the best out of them, and that's probably what Tucker's probably dealing with just now, is like how does he get the best out of that group in terms of what he wants them to do in terms of defending and mentality and naivety and stuff like that. And I'm sure he'll be thinking long and hard about how he gets the best out of that team. Because if you just sit there and say, "Oh, these boys are soft nowadays," then you're just going to end up getting beat every week,
Yeah.
because you're not actually helping them to get any better. You need to think, how can you improve, boys, all the time, regardless. You've got what you've got. How can you make them better so you can win games?
I think that this generation as well have something different, and I've mentioned this previously, is like people like myself having when myself and Dak at the podcast and that we'd cover this level and you'd have SM Media cover the level and you've got like kind of Blair McNally, Sam North cover it and there's a lot more profile for these players where
Hmm.
I don't know if this is the case, but you get maybe some of them might think, oh well, if they're on Sam or Blair's or whatever, not so much here because the viewing figures are nowhere near the same, but they'll maybe be like, oh well, I'm on a video and I'm getting interviewed and there's 75,000 people have seen it. And then the media stuff that you have with the clubs, it's so focused on the players now, which I think is great.
Hmm.
It's not something I don't think they should ever change. But the players maybe, I don't know if this is true, but the players maybe have a view that an inflated worth of their self at times because they seem like they're under a limelight, which wasn't something that players had previously.
Hmm.
But at the same time, there's always been massive egos at this level. So that's not a new thing. And I'm not saying that's why Talbot didn't win yesterday at all, but I'm looking at the league
No.
table as well. And I'm seeing that out of all the teams that played yesterday, Cumnock were the only team that didn't win for the Premier League. The Drum beat Vale of Clyde, the Borough smashed who was it they beat? It was Colony
Hmm.
Park, I think it was,
Eight,
smashed them
8 nothing
8-0.
now. Hmm.
Troon had a 12 in there.
Hmm.
Pollock had an 8, Gartcairn had a 5, Glenafton had a 4, St Cadocs had a 4, the Bens had a win, Hurlford had a win, Shotts had a win, Darvel
Hmm.
won by 6. Darvel have won or not lost in 5 or 6 games, but they're on the side where pretty much every one of their games has been in the cup, which Mick will probably want to
Hmm.
translate her into the league. So it's been a good weekend for the Premier League sides,
Hmm.
and I think that it just makes it even more interesting that teams might be high in confidence knowing that they're winning games
Hmm.
when the league stuff starts back next week.
Hmm.
It
Aye,
could be
and
quite an interesting week.
even down into the first division, with Irvine Meadow winning, beating Glasgow Persia
Mhm.
yesterday, I think if you were if you were looking at the fixtures and thinking where can I find a wee upset for my to boost the odds in my coupon, that
Mhm.
would probably you would maybe have looked at Glasgow Persia going to Irvine Meadow. So
Aye.
And again, like you're saying with Darvel, that's at Meadow. I think that's five unbeaten now, with two draws and 3 wins. I know they lost the Minimus Cup to Irvine Vicks, but in the real stuff, if you like, it's 5 unbeaten. So hopefully that gives them a wee bit of momentum, because I know we spoke about them
Well,
a
they're in
few
the
weeks ago.
situation with Paul Payton obviously leaving
Mm.
them to go,
I think
and
one of the coaches left as well, did they not?
Ailsa, the assistant manager, left, which I know I've known Ailsa for a long time. He played with my
Mm.
brother for years, a cracking guy, good coach as well. Um, but you wonder where that leaves Ben, where his assistant manager leaving, one of his senior players leaving. I think yesterday for them, that was one we obviously didn't touch on, I forgot to mention. That was a really good win for them, because I definitely fancied Perthshire to go there and possibly take something. Perthshire flying, the
Hmm.
league below them, 2 leagues below them, sorry. But they're flying and they're a really physical side, hard to beat. Meda haven't been so hard to beat. But like you said, that's 5 unbeaten. Maybe a corner turn there as well.
Hmm. Aye, definitely. And I think sometimes with the guys leaving, maybe it will just freshen it up a wee bit, for them, with Paul going to Glenafton. Who knows? Maybe that'll ease things a wee bit, and then with the coach leaving, just a wee change. That's sometimes you look around and you think something needs to change, and usually when you're the manager, that's unfortunately it's you that needs to change and needs to go out the door. So he's had these changes enforced on him, and maybe he can make the best out of them if he gets another coach in, and just a fresh voice, somebody different, a bit of different attitude, or I mean, a different kind of
Aye,
atmosphere around the place. Um, then maybe, and I think as well with Paul being there, Paul's stature speaks for himself in terms of his career, and maybe you would, as a manager, and especially Ben as a young manager, you would maybe feel you would need to play him every week.
aye.
Just because of who he is and where he's
One of the
been.
higher earners as well at the club.
Aye, aye. So maybe now that's kind of taking the pressure off as well. And I know that guys like that can be very demanding, and rightly so. You don't have a career like Paul's had without demanding standards all around you. But sometimes when you're struggling, that can then become overbearing, and things like that. So maybe there will just be a wee release, and that'll maybe help them
I
improve results.
I think as well, and I don't mean any disrespect to Paul. Paul was a year above me at St Mirren growing up, so he's 37 now. Obviously an internationalist, played in the Premier League. I mean, tremendous career. I think that actually the last time I ever played against him, I was at Maryhill and he was at Queen's Park. And it was him and Paul Cairn in the middle of the park. I wasn't a centre mid, but got played in centre mid that day. Two of them ran me ragged, and I actually got sent off for just trying to volley Paul. He was bullying me that day, and I just tried to smash him. So I know for first hand how good a player he was.
Aye.
But we played against Glenafton last season, a friendly with Craig Mark. Our centre mids were too energetic, had too much for him.
Mm,
And granted, it was a friendly, and it might not have meant that a great deal to him, but he couldn't live with the energy that our midfielders had that night. And I think that he had slowed, and
hmm
it's probably a good move for him as well,
hmm
where he's moving on to a good club where he's starting his managerial career, and wish him all the best.
Maybe
But
he's
like,
recognised that as well.
maybe
Maybe he's
exactly, because
maybe
it's
he's
like you're saying,
recognised that.
he might have been getting played, and again, this is us just surmising
Aye,
or
aye.
whatever. He's maybe not been at the level that obviously he's not been at the level he previously was when he was an internationalist. But Ben's felt he's had to play him at times, and it's no maybe the right idea. It's no maybe what they needed. So it might be sometimes, what it's like, these things sometimes benefit you when you lose what you think is a really key player.
Aye, definitely. I mean, I know when I was at when I was managing Troon, I went through a wee bit of that with Ryan Stevenson, and with John Gemmell as well, and I always felt like I needed to play them. Um, and I'm not saying that I didn't want to play them, but there might have been times where I was thinking twice about it. But you always felt, because of their ability and their quality, and they would do something out the blue that would just like, yeah, all right, do you know what I mean? But then you've got maybe 85 minutes where you're thinking he's not really helping the team, but then he's put one in the top corner for 20 yards. So you're like, right, okay, you're kind of stuck. So aye, it could be a similar situation for them there. And as I said, maybe Paul's realised that, and that's why he's decided to take the step into management with Glenafton.
Aye.
And good luck to him.
I think he could. I think he could do a decent job there, because it's like it's a good club, and there's a lot of good people down there. So it's a big club who I think that should be looking to be better than just surviving in the Premiership, which they've
Mhm.
obviously done previous years. They've been a good side. But look, I think we'll call it there. A wee bit shorter than night, but back to the league action next week. I can't wait because I just feel like the cups are good, but they're not the most exciting to talk about until it gets to the later stages. So, Johnny, thank you very much for joining us, mate. No doubt we'll see you in a couple of weeks again.
No bother, mate. Pleasure. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for watching, everybody. As always, like the episode, subscribe to the channel, and get out and watch your local team next week. Take care. Cheers.